The furnace of fear. Every man will meet fear. Every body will taste pain. These are not accidents of life, but the very forge that shapes us. To live is to be tested, and to endure is to be transformed. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself in his meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." The Stoics knew pain is real, but suffering is chosen. So ask yourself now, when fear grips, when pain strikes, will you collapse or will you endure? Welcome back to Stoic Wellspring. Today, we meet the fire not with fear, but with stillness. For strength is born in silence. The discipline of endurance. Fear and pain will come. They come for all of us. But the Stoics did not tremble before them. They trained to endure. For fear is a teacher, pain a discipline, and endurance the path to freedom. In this video, we will explore Stoic lessons on how to face fear, how to carry pain, and how to emerge not weaker, but stronger. Life's fire does not destroy the courageous. It forges them. Before we begin, if these Stoic reflections speak to you, consider subscribing to Stoic Wellspring. Your support is not just a number. It is the strength that allows me to keep creating, to serve you better with each video. And now, let us take the first step into this journey, beginning with Part 1, Naming the Fear. The first lesson of endurance is to name your fear. Fear, when left vague, swells into a monster larger than reality. In the shadows of the mind, it multiplies, twisting every thought, paralyzing every choice. Epictetus once challenged his students in the discourses. What is it that upsets us? It is not things themselves, but our judgments about them. Fear, unnamed, fuses the event and our judgment into one terrifying blur. Naming the fear helps separate the two clearly, so that we see the fact and the story we attach to it. Consider the soldier before battle. If he feels only a formless terror, he is paralyzed. But if he names it, fear of death, fear of failing comrades, then reason can speak that death is natural and duty is noble. Fear shrinks when its mask is torn away. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics intuited. Writing down an anxiety, saying it aloud, or even sharing it with a trusted friend reduces its grip. A vague dread haunts us endlessly. A named fear becomes something we can analyze, confront, and endure. Think of your own life. How many decisions have you delayed? How many dreams have you buried because of a fear you never named? To speak it is to strip it of power. To name it is to begin to master it. So do not let fear rule in silence, for silence is its fortress. But the moment you give it a name, the fortress cracks, and courage finds its way in. Part 2. Accepting pain. The second lesson of endurance is to accept pain. Pain is not the enemy, but resistance to pain is. When we fight against what is inevitable, we double our suffering because we suffered twice. Once from the pain itself, and again from our refusal to bear it. Seneca once reminded Lucilius in his letters, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Pain is sharp, but resistance makes it endless. Think of Marcus Aurelius, writing in his Meditations, as illness and fatigue wore on his body. He did not curse his pain, but reminded himself, "Does the cucumber taste bitter? Then throw it out. Are there brambles in the path? Step aside. This is enough." To accept pain is to strip it of drama. Modern science echoes this wisdom. Studies on mindfulness show that when patients breathe into their pain instead of resisting, their suffering decreases. Pain signals still fire, but the mind is calmer, the body less consumed. Picture an athlete on the track, muscles burning, lungs on fire. If he curses the pain, he quits. If he accepts it, he pushes through, and the pain becomes a passage to strength. So it is with all of life. To endure is not to love pain, but to see it for what it is. A signal, a passage, a refining fire. The enemy is not pain itself. It is our refusal to walk through it. Part 3. The boundary of control. The third lesson of endurance is to draw the line between what you can and cannot control. Fear and pain grow monstrous when we treat the uncontrollable as if it were ours to command. Epictetus thundered this truth in the very first lines of the Enchiridion. Some things are in our control, and others not. To ignore this is to waste our strength, swinging swords at the wind. Imagine a sailor cursing the storm. He cannot silence the thunder, nor calm the sea. But he can tighten the sails, adjust the rudder, and steer with skill. Control the wheel, not the weather. Modern life is full of misplaced battles. We rage at traffic, at politics, at the opinions of strangers on the internet. These are storms we cannot calm. Yet we neglect what is ours. our choices, our reactions, our discipline. We polish the waves while letting our rudder rot. And here lies the humor of our condition. We demand the universe bend to our will, yet we cannot even bend our own habits. We curse fate, but cannot wake up without the alarm clock. The Stoic way is sharper, clearer. Draw the line. What belongs to fortune? Release. What belongs to you? Command. Endurance is wasted if it wrestles with the impossible. It becomes power when it is focused on what you truly hold. Part 4. Training the mind through hardship. The fourth lesson of endurance is this: hardship is the training ground of the mind. Muscles grow only by strain. So too does the soul. Seneca once wrote in his letters, "Fire tests gold. Adversity tests the brave." Without hardship, our virtues remain untested, like swords never drawn, gleaming but useless. The Stoics welcomed difficulty, not because they were masochists, but because they understood its function. Discomfort is the classroom, and endurance is the lesson plan. Marcus Aurelius, weighed down by wars and illness, wrote in his Meditations that obstacles are not interruptions of life, they are life itself. What stands in the way becomes the way. Modern science agrees. Psychologists call it stress inoculation. Just as a small dose of a virus builds immunity, so too small hardships build resilience. Those shielded from all discomfort collapse at the first real blow. Think of children today. A little boredom and they reach for the glowing rectangle. A little difficulty and they scream for rescue. Yet the Stoic child was trained to walk barefoot, to bear cold, to hunger a little, not to torment them, but to prepare them. So it is with us. A life padded with comfort leaves the soul soft. But hardship, rightly faced, forges iron in the will. To endure hardship willingly is to turn pain into practice and suffering into strength. Part 5. Turning fear into a guide. The fifth lesson of endurance is to turn fear into a guide. Fear is not only an enemy, it is also a compass. It points to what matters, to what we most value, to what we cannot bear to lose. Epictetus once told his students in the Discourses, "It is not death or pain that is to be feared, but the fear of death and pain." Fear reveals our attachments. Where we tremble, there lies our chain. Consider the Roman general before battle. He does not fear the clash of swords, but the shame of cowardice. His fear reveals his highest value, and that value is honor. By listening to his fear, he knows what must be guarded at all costs. Modern life offers humbler examples. The fear of public speaking. It reveals the desire for dignity. The fear of losing a job. It reveals the value placed on security. The fear of heartbreak. It reveals the depth of our longing for love. Each fear, if examined, uncovers the architecture of the soul. And yes, sometimes our fears reveal our vanity. We fear wrinkles, fear gray hairs, fear a low follower count on social media. These fears are teachers too, mocking us, showing how small our gods can be. To laugh at them is already to rise above them. The Stoic does not run from fear, he interrogates it. He asks, "What does this fear reveal about me? What do I truly value? And is it worth my chains?" In this way, fear ceases to be a jailer and becomes a guide. Before we continue, take a brief pause. If these reflections resonate with you, consider subscribing to Stoic Wellspring. Your support is the quiet strength that fuels future reflections, helping me craft deeper, better stories for this journey we share. Part 6. The Practice of Voluntary Hardship. The sixth lesson of endurance is to practice voluntary hardship. The Stoics knew that to wait for pain to strike is to be caught unprepared. So they trained for it, like soldiers drilling before war. Seneca once advised in his letters, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare and with rough clothing, and ask yourself, is this what I feared?" By tasting poverty, he dissolved its terror. Marcus Aurelius slept on hard ground when he could have rested in palaces. Epictetus, once a slave, reminded his students that a broken lamp or a cold night was no catastrophe, only a lesson. Hardship, chosen freely, becomes a shield against hardship imposed. Modern life, however, seduces us with comfort. We fear hunger, yet we have never skipped a meal. We fear poverty, yet our closets burst with clothes. We fear loneliness, yet we cannot sit 5 minutes in silence. The result is fragility disguised as success. Voluntary hardship is the antidote. Too fast for a day, to walk instead of ride, to sleep on the floor, to go without the constant buzz of devices. These are not punishments, but rehearsals. Each small hardship builds a hidden reserve of strength. The Stoics trained in this way, so that when real trials came, they would not shatter. Endurance was not theory for them, but muscle memory. And so it must become for us. Part 7. The Brotherhood of Suffering. The seventh lesson of endurance is to recognize the brotherhood of suffering. Pain isolates us when we think it is ours alone. But the truth is that suffering is the most common bond of humanity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in the Meditations, "When you have been compelled by circumstances to be disturbed, quickly return to yourself, and do not remain out of tune longer than you must. You will find rest in harmony, for it is the nature of all things." Even the emperor admitted his struggles, and in doing so, joined the rest of us. Think of the soldier in the trench, shivering beside comrades. The pain is the same, but shared suffering becomes solidarity. Alone, misery breaks us. Together, it binds us. Modern life pretends otherwise. We scroll through polished images of perfect lives and imagine we are the only ones struggling. But on Instagram, what people display are masks, not reality. Behind the filters and smiles, every heart aches, every body will fail. Instagram shows illusions. Life reminds us of truth. The Stoic response is not pity, but fellowship. To see suffering in others is to recognize our own, and to bear it together is to lighten the load. You are not alone in your fear, not alone in your pain. The human condition itself is your companion. Endurance deepens when it is shared, for to suffer alone is to carry a burden, but to suffer together is to transform it into meaning. Part 8. Transcending Fear and Pain. The final lesson of endurance is to transcend fear and pain. To transcend does not mean to escape, but to rise above, to see them not as enemies, but as elements of life itself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in the Meditations, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." The emperor could not erase pain, but he could erase its sting. Fear and pain are real, but they are not the whole of reality. They are clouds that pass across the sky of being. Endurance is the art of not mistaking the cloud for the sky. History proves this truth. The slave who became a philosopher, the emperor who wrote in the dead of night, the countless nameless who bore hunger, loss, and grief, all show that fear and pain can be carried, even turned into wisdom. Modern life tempts us to believe otherwise. Advertisements promise a painless existence, apps promise freedom from fear. But a life without fear or pain is not a life. It is a fantasy, and fantasies make us weaker. Reality, faced with courage, makes us free. To transcend fear and pain is not to deny them, but to walk with them, above them, beyond them. For courage does not wait for the storm to end. It learns to stand in the storm. Unbroken, unbowed, unafraid. Pause now. Let the words settle. Fear has been named. Pain has been accepted. Hardship has been faced. You have walked with the Stoics through fire, and yet you still remain. Notice what this means. Fear does not own you. Pain does not define you. Suffering does not isolate you. You are more than what you dread, stronger than what you endure. The storm rages, but storms pass. The wound aches, but wounds heal. What remains is the soul, steady, tested, unbroken. Ask yourself now, what fear still grips you? What pain still chains you? And what would your life be if you learned not only to bear them, but to rise above them? Fear will come, pain will come, but they do not have the final word. Endurance, shaped by the Stoics, teaches us that the storm is not the end. It is the beginning of strength. Seneca once wrote in his letters, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Pain and fear are not curses. They are the weights that train the soul. Thank you for walking with me to the end of this reflection. If these Stoic lessons gave you courage, I invite you to subscribe to Stoic Wellspring. Your support is the strength that allows these words to continue. More reflections, more clarity, more freedom. Be well, be still, be free.